Hi, I'm Mark McPherson. A few people have asked me where did I get my ideas from about what constitutes good non-verbal or specifically visual communication. Well, here goes. I'll talk quickly and try and therefore make the video as brief as possible. The first place where I learnt how to use non-verbal communication was really with my parents. My parents taught me, even if you got a gift which you didn't like, the appropriate and proper thing to do is to look at someone in the face and smile and nod your head and say thank you. And I also learned from my father that when he went from, this sort of cheery nodding of head to smiling to a still face and a more even voice, that I knew perhaps I was in trouble. I learnt lots from various school teachers, other people, from observation, but let's skip right through now to when I was a tourist guide at Jenolan Caves in the middle 1970s. What I learnt there was a few things about how to look when you wanted to be serious, and certain faces to put on, the voice to put on when you wanted to be serious, and a different face and voice when you wanted to welcome people into the cave. So to give the rules and regulations, you might be like this, but then you might be a little bit friendlier, or should be a little bit friendly when you're welcoming people on the actual tour itself. I also learned there from a fellow called Don how to maybe stand in a particular position when you're giving the rules and regulations, and then look to the ground or look away, and then move to another spot and then look back at them with a cheery face, like it's a new you. That was great advice, and I don't pretend to have actually really taken a lot of notice of it, I'll be honest. In 1976 I did my Diploma of Education in Teaching, and there was a particular lecturer we had there. His name was John Pearman. He was terrific, and he talked about having special places in the room where you would talk about certain concepts or act in a certain way, certain places you should give rules from, certain place you might move to if you were angry or annoyed with children's behaviour. So he never used words like anchoring, but in many regards that's what he was doing. I went on many workshops over the years and learned some great things from some great teachers. I was a teacher for about 8 years. High school, physics was my thing, don't hold it against me. In the mid-80s, 87, 88 perhaps, I went to a course on neuro-linguistic programming with, I think it was John Grinder himself, but I could be wrong. And that was terrific. Learned some great things there. Let's move ahead over the years, more workshops, more books, more videos. And then I worked with police. And I learned some incredible things from police. And I'll just give you an example. I used to work in the area of alcohol-related crime. It's prevention rather than promoting it. And I saw a police officer one time in a particular hotel, which I can still remember the name of, which I won't give you now. And he talked to an intoxicated person like this. He went up to them and said this, something along these lines. Listen, mate, there's a lot of people here. They're under the weather tonight. I think the best thing to do might be to move, because we're going to start clearing the place out. He didn't look at him in the face. That's something that I learnt right there and then, that looking at people in the face, which is something we've always been told, is not necessarily the best thing to do. For some people it's quite confrontational. I think it might have been a different story if this particular police officer looked at that intoxicated person and was a bit more authoritative. But looking down, not threatening him, telling him that might be best if we move on, was really an eye-opener for me, because he had all the power in the world and he could have looked at him straight in the face, but he chose not to. I'm sure if the intoxicated person decided not to move on and was rude or something, it would have been a different story. Let's move forward now. To about 2009, perhaps, I went on a course with Michael Grinder. And that was specifically on non-verbal communication, visual communication, and it was great. That was really good. And I must admit, one thing he really did there for me was put all of this stuff together, stuff that I'd listened to by John Pearman in 1976, and sort of, I don't know, maybe I didn't pay as much attention to it as I should have. But that was great, putting that together. And of course, I've continued to learn and read, etc. since. Now, one of the things that I did take notice of in the late 1990s and the early 2000s was the show Seinfeld. And Jason Alexander is the actor, and he plays George Costanza, and he is a master of non-verbal Visual communication. There is not one thing that man does that is not meaningful and purposeful. There's not one thing that he does with his hands and his voice, his facial expressions, that is not there specifically and deliberately to enhance the quality of what he is saying. Amazing stuff. He is really incredible to watch. Why don't I leave it there? I think that's enough. It gives you a quick overview of where I've learned certain things from. I say this: watch people, observe them, look what they're doing. And as hard as it is sometimes, video yourself and watch you, because it's so easy to simply say stuff like, look, it's really important, there's all this stuff, and I've learned lots of things through my whole childhood, and these hands, they may not be bad, but they don't enhance the quality of the communication. Why don't I leave it there? Wherever you are and whatever you're doing, please look after yourselves, look after your friends and family. If you want to get in contact with me, it's easy. Just go to my website. There's a contact page there. All the very best to you. Take care.